Lance Stroll's struggles continued at the Shanghai Grand Prix, where his recent poor form only seems to confirm what many have suspected, that his place in Formula One owes more to his father's involvement than to his own abilities behind the wheel. Despite Lance's recent remarks adding some uncertainty about his future in the sport, Aston Martin appears keen to maintain their relationship with him for the long term. But after his latest incident in China, it's clear his father might want to rethink the whole strategy if they truly aim to build a championship-winning team. The dynamic between Lance and Aston Martin is complicated, and his performance is raising serious questions. Could his mistakes become a significant setback for the team? And with Honda joining forces from 2026, is there any chance they could shift this situation for the better? The Chinese Grand Prix was a tough day for Stroll. After being outqualified by his teammate Fernando Alonso once again, he made headlines for the wrong reasons during the safety car period, when he collided with Daniel Ricciardo from behind. The incident baffled many experts, especially when Lance blamed Ricciardo for braking suddenly, a claim that seemed odd given they were mid-pack with several cars ahead. This crash not only ended what had been a promising race for Ricciardo but also fueled criticism of Lance's professionalism. The stewards handed Stroll a 10-second penalty, which he took at his last pit stop. Finishing last was the final blow to a disappointing race, and summed up his season so far. A performance far from what is expected from a team challenging Mercedes for fourth place in the Constructors' Championship. Before this race, Aston Martin was just a single point behind Mercedes, but strong finishes from Lewis Hamilton and George Russell pushed the Silver Arrows 12 points ahead. Alonso has been the main point scorer for Aston Martin, contributing 31 of their 40 points this season, while Stroll has only managed 9 points, currently sitting in 10th place in the standings. After the crash in China, the fans' frustration grew, especially following the team's public statements about Stroll's role in their future. The team values his technical input highly, but with only one driver regularly scoring points, many are questioning whether Aston Martin is stuck in the midfield until they find a stronger second driver. The crash in China sparked even more debate, especially after Lance denied responsibility. He described the collision as a concertina effect, claiming someone in front braked suddenly and caused a chain reaction. According to him, he was just caught up in the chaos, and it wasn't a simple case of him hitting Ricciardo from behind. This explanation didn't sit well with many fans and experts, especially since the facts show both drivers were stuck mid-pack with plenty of room ahead. It seemed clear Stroll wasn't paying enough attention to the cars in front of him and was more focused on the back of Ricciardo's car. Ricciardo himself was visibly upset after the incident. Watching Stroll's onboard footage, he pointed out that Lance wasn't even looking at him, but instead was focused elsewhere on the track, which is a huge mistake in such a critical moment. Ricciardo said that the impact was severe enough that almost half of Stroll's car ended up under his own, making it far from a minor error. This level of inattention during a race is considered amateurish and unprofessional by many in the paddock. Many people are baffled about why Lance is still racing in Formula One, with the obvious answer being his father's ownership of the team. Aston Martin has openly said they see Lance as a key part of their future, mainly because of his technical feedback, which they believe is valuable for car development. However, critics argue that much of this input could be provided just as well in the simulator or in lower racing categories, rather than risking race performance. Even Max Verstappen couldn't hold back his amusement when he saw how Stroll collided with Ricciardo during the safety car period, struggling to understand how such an incident could happen in professional racing. With Honda joining Aston Martin from 2026 and aiming to compete with the top teams, the question remains, can Aston Martin afford to keep Stroll as their second driver? They will need two consistent point scorers if they want to rise up the ranks, and so far, Alonso is the only one delivering. Honda's upcoming partnership with Aston Martin from 2026 is expected to raise the team's competitiveness significantly. However, to make a real impact, they'll need both drivers to perform consistently well, and bring in strong points regularly. At the moment, it seems only Alonso fits that description, leaving Stroll's position under serious scrutiny. Honda's approach to drivers has always been unique. They gave Yuki Tsunoda some time to improve despite his struggles with AlphaTauri, and now Tsunoda is showing promising results with Alpine. This shows Honda values potential and is willing to make tough decisions when necessary. With that in mind, if Aston Martin wants to reach the top, they will likely have to reconsider their loyalty to Lance Stroll. The team's reluctance to replace him may stem from the close ties due to his father's ownership, which creates a complicated and risky situation. The family connection in ownership means emotions and business are tightly mixed, which can sometimes lead to decisions that aren't based purely on performance. Mike Crack, Aston Martin's team principal, recently mentioned that while most news focused on Alonso, Stroll's place at the team is still considered important. He emphasized the team's desire for continuity and how the whole project has been built around Lance. This kind of statement highlights just how embedded Stroll is in the team's long-term plans, even if his on-track performances don't match the expectations. On the other hand, Honda's F1 director Kei Watanabe has made it clear their goal is to have the strongest driver lineup possible from 2026. If Aston Martin's results don't improve, Honda won't hesitate to push for changes, potentially putting pressure on the Stroll family to rethink the driver lineup. This could lead to a challenging situation, especially since Lance's seat is currently seen as secure due to his father's influence. Honda's involvement brings a new dynamic that could shake things up in Silverstone. The Japanese manufacturer comes with a strong track record from their time with Red Bull, where they played a key role in multiple championship wins. They clearly won't settle for mediocrity, especially if Aston Martin wants to compete at the top. If Stroll's mistakes continue, Honda could push for a driver change despite the family ties behind the scenes. It's important for Lance to realize that owning the team doesn't guarantee a lifelong spot in the cockpit. When a big partner, like Honda, steps in, results become the priority. This means Lance must either prove his worth on track or risk losing his seat. The current situation leaves many fans frustrated. His racecraft, decision-making, and consistency have raised doubts about his ability to compete at the highest level week after week. Meanwhile, Alonso has carried the team with strong performances, making it clear Aston Martin's future success heavily depends on having two reliable drivers. As things stand, Stroll is far behind in points and form. This gap highlights the urgent need for the team to reconsider their driver lineup if they want to move beyond midfield battles. The accident in China only amplified these concerns. With the safety car collision leading to Ricciardo's retirement, questions about Stroll's focus and professionalism are louder than ever. If nothing changes, the team risks losing credibility and valuable points in the coming seasons. The controversy around Lance Stroll doesn't just affect the team's reputation, it also impacts fan support. Many followers of Formula One are openly criticizing Aston Martin's decision to keep him, especially after repeated mistakes on track. This growing dissatisfaction could lead to protests or backlash if his race performance doesn't improve significantly. Fans want to see results and competitiveness, not excuses or family ties influencing driver selection. Looking ahead, the arrival of Honda signals a fresh start for Aston Martin, but it also raises the stakes. The Japanese manufacturer will likely have a strong say in future decisions, including who drives the cars. Their history of working with top drivers shows they expect excellence and won't hesitate to demand changes if needed. This means Lance's position may be under more pressure than ever before. It's clear that Aston Martin faces a critical decision. They must choose whether to continue supporting Stroll despite his inconsistent performances or take bold action to build a more competitive team. This decision will shape their chances of challenging the top teams in the coming years. With Alonso proving his worth race after race, the team's success will hinge on who fills the second seat. If Stroll wants to stay, He'll have to improve drastically and demonstrate that he can match the team's ambitions. Otherwise, Aston Martin risks remaining stuck in midfield battles, disappointing fans and investors alike. The clock is ticking, and with new challenges ahead, the team must act wisely to secure a brighter future. One of the biggest challenges for Aston Martin is balancing loyalty and performance. The Stroll family's involvement gives the team financial stability and resources, but relying too much on this connection might hold them back competitively. In Formula One, success is measured by results on the track, and every mistake can cost valuable points in a tightly contested championship. As the 2024 season progresses, Lance's errors keep raising eyebrows among analysts and fans alike. If the pattern continues, it could force Aston Martin's management to reconsider their strategy, especially with Honda's entry promising a more demanding era ahead. The new partnership will bring fresh expectations and pressure to deliver strong finishes regularly, something that requires two dependable drivers. Meanwhile, the team's focus will be on how to improve the car and maximize Alonso's chances, while also figuring out if Lance can step up or if they need a new option. With so much at stake, the decisions made now could define Aston Martin's trajectory for years to come. Ultimately, the question remains, is Lance Stroll the right driver to help Aston Martin compete with the best, or is it time for the team to move on and build a more competitive lineup? The answer might not be far away, as the pressure mounts and the next chapters of this story begin to unfold. As we look toward the future of Aston Martin, the team faces a crossroads. They have the resources, talent in Alonso, and a promising partnership with Honda. But to truly challenge the top teams, they need a driver pairing that can consistently deliver strong results. Lance Stroll's ongoing struggles raise valid questions about whether he fits into those plans. At the end of the day, Formula One is a fiercely competitive sport where every point matters. Team decisions have to be based on performance, not just relationships or off-track factors. With Honda joining, the pressure to improve is only going to increase, and Aston Martin will have to be ready to make tough calls for the sake of success. Whether that means giving Lance more time to prove himself or looking for fresh talent remains to be seen. What is clear is that the days of underperforming can't continue if Aston Martin wants to stay in the fight for higher positions. The coming seasons will reveal a lot about the team's direction and whether they can turn potential into reality. For now, all eyes remain on how this story develops, as Aston Martin tries to balance loyalty, ambition, and the harsh realities of Formula One racing.